Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and the GOP establishment have made it very clear that they don't want Roy Moore in the Senate. But it is entirely possible. In fact, there's a high degree of probability that Moore will win the election. That's now just 3 weeks away, by the way, especially in the wake, as we're talking about this, of what just happened with President Trump, which was an all but endorsement today. The governor, however, is saying that she has no reason to disbelieve the accusers, but she wants a Republican in that seat. I mentioned the governor because she has the most control here. This is a state special election. So, what will happen if Moore stays in the race, which seems likely, and he wins? Let's discuss. CNN senior political commentator Rick Santorum, who is, of course, a former senator and presidential candidate. The best for Thanksgiving, if I don't get to speak to you between now and then, to you and your family. God bless. It's good to have you. So, if he wins, do you think that McConnell makes a move on him, or is it just the practicality of math? They have the cover of saying the people have spoken, and on we go.
Yeah, I think given the environment that we're in right now, I think it's going to be very difficult for any United States senator to allow him to stay in the Senate without some sort of investigation. I think there will be an investigation, and if these claims are proven to be credible, I think it'd be very difficult for any Republican senator, particularly those up for re-election, to not vote to expel him. I think there's a very high chance that if Roy Moore, I think if Roy Moore gets elected, I think there's a very high chance that he would be expelled from the United States Senate. Look, I mean, there's the issue of the charges, and there's just the brass politics of it, that which is in this environment again where sexual harassment and the charges even worse that were made against Roy Moore with minors, for a man or woman to stand for election in 2018 and to allow someone with these allegations, if they check out, and again there will be an investigation by the Senate, I think it's an untenable position for most senators to be in. So I think the people of Alabama.
What the president just did, Rick? You just had him say he denies it, and this guy Jones, I don't like him, and let the people decide. What if they take that posture?
Yeah, I don't think that most senators behave like our president does. I think our president is very different in the way he deals with things than most traditional politicians. But I'm just telling you how I think most Republican senators, particularly again those up for re-election, and there's enough with the Democrats voting to take him out, that the people of Alabama need to think about a lot of things when it comes to this election. But the one thing that I think they need to put in the back of their heads is that if Roy Moore is elected, you may have trouble with voting for someone like that, but I think there's also a pretty good chance that if he is elected, he's probably not going to be in the Senate very long.
And just so people know where you're coming from, what is your position on the allegations against Roy Moore?
Yeah, look, I'm of the position that when faced with a serious allegation like this, if you're someone who truly believes in the things that Roy Moore has espoused, you don't stay in the race. You get out of the race because we do have Supreme Court justices that are important. We do have tax bill and health care and a bunch of other things that are important for this country, where we have a very narrow majority in the United States Senate, and you put the country and the things you think are best for the country above your own personal politics. Now, this could be all fabrication, this could be a horrible lie, but the fact of the matter is that these are credible claims. You don't have an opportunity to really prosecute them, and the best thing to do, and what I would have done if I was in that situation, whether I was guilty or not, is look to the best interests of the country and the cause you believe in and step down, and and have your opportunity either day in court, whether you want to sue them for libel or whatever the case may be, and have your opportunity, but let's put the country first, and I think that's what we're not seeing here.
It's interesting because it's such a converse of a point that's being made in favor of Roy Moore, which is, by the way, he believes in Trump's agenda. He wants to help Trump. You're saying maybe so, but if he gets in there, he may get tossed out, and then he's not going to help the agenda.
Well, if you really want Trump's agenda, you put someone, you've got, several congressmen, you got one of his colleagues on the Supreme Court, Glenn Murdoch. There's a whole bunch of folks in Alabama who could step into that race even as late as today and win this race and run it right in. Doug, he's not a popular guy. He's a very liberal for Alabama. That's the reason the race is as close as it is, given the accusations. He doesn't fit Alabama, and so to me, it's I've run my political career on caring more about the cause and more about the country than about your own political career, and that doesn't necessarily end in the right place all the time at elections, but you stand true for what you believe in. And
so what would you do if you were an
recommendation.
Alabama registered Republican? Who would you vote for?
Well, look, from what you just heard me say, I think the chances of Roy Moore serving in the United States Senate for very long are very slim. I really do.
So would you stay home, or would you go for a Democrat?
I would do what, and you criticized the previous guest for this, but I really think it's a very valid comparison, and that's what happened to Mel Carnahan. When Mel Carnahan died, we had a dead man on the ballot. You had someone who wasn't going to be able to serve, but you knew that the governor would then appoint somebody and fill out that term. And I think we're, in a sense, we have that same situation here. I think that the chances of Roy Moore actually serving his term out of the United States Senate, given what's going on right now, is very slim. And so you vote for someone that can replace him, and that's by voting for Roy Moore, you're voting for really a replacement in the end.
I was just pushing back on the idea of a stunt versus this is a real referendum on where we are in terms of believing victims. But Rick, your points are well made and appreciated. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
So.